Thursday, October 2nd, 2025, Metropolitan Policy Committee meeting. Welcome to both the committee and any guests that we have. This meeting is being recorded. So I'll call this meeting to order. And are there any adjustments to the agenda or announcements from MPC members? Seeing none, we'll move on to, do we have comments from the audience? Do we have anyone signed up to speak, Paul?
Chair, actually, there are two people in the attendee list who I do not recognize. I'm not sure if they're wishing to speak, so I am going to allow both of them to talk at this time. And if they wish to speak, please unmute your microphone and say so now.
Okay, not seeing any. Next order of business is agenda item 5, approval of the September 4th, 2025 MPC meeting minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes? I'm not seeing any hands go up. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
Yes, Chair. I move to approve the September 2025 MPC minutes.
Thank you, Vice Chair Blackwell. Made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Lovall. Is anyone opposed to this? Let's use the reverse method to make sure I don't miss anything. Anyone opposed to adopting or accepting these minutes? I'm seeing no hands go up. The minutes are approved unanimously. Okay, now we're moving on to item 6. And Paul, why don't we go with 6C? You said 6C was the first one where Kelly wouldn't be the staff person?
Chair, that is correct. And Delaney, if you are able and willing to go now, since Kelly has not been able to log in, we'd prefer that we do the October transportation options activities item now.
Yeah, let's do it. Let me just pull up my screen. Okay, can everyone see? Perfect. All right. So my name's Delaney Thompson. I am an assistant transportation planner with the MPO, and I am going to be talking about some of our transportation options activities that we've got going on in October. The big one that we've got going on is Walktober. So this is our 3rd year of celebrating Walktober in Lane County. And the idea is really to get folks out and walking, exploring their community, meeting new people, and trying new things. We are doing that through guided walks, DIY walks, there's group walks, and a lot of the walks have art, history, culture, and nature focuses. We worked with a local artist, Eric Wonderly, to come up with our graphics. And the graphic that you see is the primary poster. The concept for it is no matter rain or shine, fast or slow, join us for Walktober. We thought the tortoise and the hare was pretty cute. One of the big events that we have going on within Walktober itself is Coffee Shop Hop. So this year we have 13 participating shops in Eugene and Springfield, as well as 5 in rural Lane County. So that includes Cresswell, Cottage Grove, Lowell, Coburg, Veneta, Florence, and Junction City. So the concept of Coffee Shop Hop is to get folks out walking, biking, busing, and really trying new coffee shops. All of the shops that we have participating are local only. And so it's been really, really fun meeting with these business owners and making those connections to our community. It's been really rewarding. Part of the Coffee Shop Hop at the end is a raffle. So the concept of the passport is you bike, bus, walk to the shop, you show them the passport, you get a sticker and a discount. And so one sticker equals one entry, and then more stickers equals more entries, and that's for a $25 gift card to the participating coffee shop of the winner's choice. Something new that we have this year is if you go to all the Eugene and Springfield shops, so 13 shops, you can get a sweatshirt, which is the image that we have here. I'm also wearing it. That was printed with a local printing company, Threadbare. So that's been really exciting. Most of the shops in Eugene are downtown and in the WIT. As it's only the third year that we've done it, you know, we tried to expand into the WIT this year. The hope is to, as we go along, slowly start to incorporate other neighborhoods as well. So we're excited to see where it goes. Something that I wanted to highlight as well is partnerships and how important they are for our modal campaigns to be successful. The image that I have on this slide is a little setup that some librarians did at the downtown Eugene Library. So we've been working really closely with the downtown Eugene Library to get books about walking out. They have bookmarks and stickers about the event. They're also highlighting Coffee Shop Hop. And so they've been really fun to work with, as well as the Springfield Library. We've also been working really closely with the Art Walk coordinators and the Farmers Market coordinators to be able to table at their events. So we like to go out and talk to folks, as well as I mentioned, coffee shop owners, as well as local business owners. Government agencies within the MPO have been really important partnerships, as well as the partnerships that we are establishing within rural Lane County as well with their cities. Safe routes to school has been really important, and as I highlighted before, local artists. So for outreach and advertising, we have really tried to do kind of A to Z. So we're really trying to see what is successful for this campaign since it's the third year. Some of the big things that we've been doing is tabling at key events. So we were at the Bright Parade. We will be at 2 Tuesday markets. We'll also be at Friday Art Walk this Friday. 2 of my coworkers are at the UO Transportation Day, and we'll also be at the ASUO Street Fair. And I think we're also going to the Oak Ridge Farmers Market as well. We've also been doing newspaper advertisements. So we have advertisements in with Eugene Weekly, Lookout, Register Guard, Daily Emerald. And new this year is doing radio advertisement spots. So we had ads running in September focusing on back to school walking safety. October itself is about Walktober, and then November is about visibility and looking out for folks while they're walking or biking as it starts to get darker. We also have been working on pushing out Walktober to newsletters, such as the In Motion City of Eugene Transportation newsletter. We have posters and flyers that we put out throughout Eugene and Springfield. As I mentioned, the downtown library, they've got bookmarks, merchandise, and displays. They also have our little side characters in their children's section for find the character, which is really cute. And they also have some reading times as well for children with a focus on books that highlight walking. Coffee Shop Hop, we have put out yard signs in a decent amount of the parks in Eugene and then along the riverfront path in Springfield and near the Springfield Library as well. The local partnership support that I've mentioned, such as artists. The artists, especially Eric, our primary graphic design artist, has been really important because it helps us reach audiences that we might not otherwise, because they're really big at promoting their work online as well as when they table. And so it's kind of a multi-tiered approach of, we get to work with a local artist and really have a lot of say over what happens. It's a unique design that we end up coming up with, and at the same time they kind of do a decent amount of work in advertising and outreach on our behalf. And then lastly, social media. I wanted to bring up analytics from just yesterday on our website. So our website had 1,009 visits yesterday alone. This is very, very exciting. The vast majority of views were for the home and the coffee shop hop pages, which had 28% of the views each. Something that's really interesting for us to look at is the traffic sources to see kind of what makes the most sense to put time and effort towards and what might not be working as well, and trying to figure out why. So something that we have found to be very interesting is that yard signs are actually quite effective. We also saw this for May is Bike Month. Posters and flyers, that's kind of a great standard. Something that's exciting is that a vast majority of the searches were actually direct searches, which meant that someone typed in the URL itself and didn't just look up Walktober. Although we did have some general search folks as well. And then I wanted to highlight some specific Walktober events of note. So on the 9th, we had the Masonic Cemetery Arboretum Walk. The Masonic Cemetery has been a really great partner for us. They've done tours every single year that we've had Walktober. We've got 2 bird tours, 2 bird walks on the 12th and the 29th. Better Eugene Springfield Transportation is hosting the author Anna Zevarts, and it's a talk for when driving is not an option on the 14th. And on the 21st is a tree identification walk. So, and as I said in the bottom, more being added every single day. It's been really exciting to see what folks have been putting on there. Part of Walktober as well is the Get There Challenge. So the Get There Challenge is a statewide challenge, and we're trying to really incorporate a lot of local elements because we also have Walktober going on. So the Get There Challenge statewide is October 1st to the 14th. So that's a 2-week challenge. And locally, if you participate, you can be entered to win a $50 local grocery store gift card. And then if you participate in the Lane County specific month-long challenge, if you log your walks, bikes, busing, carpooling trips, every day you can be entered into a raffle, and there's a lot of really cool prizes that are centered kind of on walking, being a pedestrian. We also have a Walktober network set up within the Get There platform for folks in Lane County who want to participate. Relatedly, but not within Walktober itself, is also our See and Be Seen campaign. So it's just beginning to kick off in October. The vast majority of it happens in November, but we do a lot of work in October. So CMB Scene is really about doing a bunch of coordinated deliveries of safety items for pedestrians and cyclists. So bike lights, pedestrian lights, safety vests, etc. And we try to get these out to nonprofits and low-income housing communities throughout the county. This is to make sure that folks who might not be able to afford to get those items have those items so they can get to where they need to get to safely. This is something that we do alongside the City of Eugene, Springfield, Safe Routes to School, Cascadia Mobility, and other local partners. So that's what I have for what the Transportation Options team is doing for October.
Thank you, Delaney. Are there questions or comments from the MPC? And I can't see everybody's screen. Mayor Knudsen.
Thank you, Chair. And I just want to appreciate staff's presentation of all that information and encourage people to participate. I'll also note that the City of Eugene is supporting and working with BEST on the event with Anna Zivverts to talk about the importance of having robust transportation options in our community to meet everyone's needs. And our local transit district, Lane Transit District, is also having its State of the District meeting a week prior. And with every transit trip beginning as a pedestrian trip, there's a nice connection there between those two areas of interest. So just want to appreciate the work to reach out to folks and let them know how many options they have for ways to get around our community.
Thank you, Mayor. Are there any other questions or comments from the MPC? I'm not seeing. Oh, Paul.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to add, both Delaney and the mayor just mentioned the conversation, the meeting, the discussion with Anna Zivverts. I was also asked to mention that elected officials and appointed officials are especially invited to attend that and engage in the discussion that the region will have with her, and will receive copies of her book if you choose to attend.
Great. Thank you, Paul. Anything else from MPC? I'm not seeing any. With that, thank you, Delaney. Appreciate the presentation very much. I see Kelly has joined us by phone. I also know that Rachel Dorfman is ready to step in and deliver the presentation, if that would be easier for you, Kelly, on the phone. What's your pleasure?
Unfortunately, Kelly is here, but it looks like her phone is still muted, so.
Okay, well, let me introduce the topic here quickly. This is, we're going back up to agenda item 6A, Regional Transportation Plan, RTIP update. And I want to mention before we go into this, the packet has 399 pages associated with this agenda item. As Paul pointed out, though, to me, we have received most of this information in past meetings, so this shouldn't be anything new. And with that, Paul, unless you have any other comments, we'll let Rachel take it away, and thank you.
Go ahead, Rachel.
Okay. Is everybody seeing my screen? Yes. Okay. Fabulous. Sorry about the last minute switch and technical difficulties on our end. Okay. So
you're not in presentation mode, though. I think you're still in. You've got the slides on the side.
Appreciate that. And I am getting there now. And
there we go.
Back to my notes. Okay. Can everybody see my presentation now? Excellent. Okay. So, as Paul and the chair mentioned, we had a very large packet, a shorter agenda, because most of what was in your packet is stuff that you have seen in the past. So we will go over a project status update, the environmental analysis, which is new, the financial plan, and then we'll kind of talk through the draft chapters and, next steps of what's to come. So first of all, just kind of quickly, you've seen a version of this slide pretty much every month when we come to you. The most recent things that we've brought to you are the draft project list in May and June, the vision, goals, and objectives refinement in May and June, system performance measurement in September, the financial plan is this month, environmental analysis. We also included the air quality conformity determination and congestion management process in your packet this month, but those are things that we've brought to you in the past, so we're not going to dwell on them today. And then, adoption will be November and December, so coming right up. It's been a long process. Appreciate all of the input and conversation around these things as we've brought them to you every month. Just wanted to mention that we are currently engaging in round 2 of our public engagement for the RTP update. We have an online open house that'll be open through October 15th. This is really just our chance to report back to the public on kind of what we heard, first of all, from the first round of outreach, the RTP goals as they were refined with MPC earlier in the summer, the regional planned investments, so that's that really long project list, the system performance, and the, obviously providing an opportunity to give any additional comments. So there's a link there, and I think those resources have gone out. It's been publicized and it'll be open until October 15th. So the environmental analysis was a new piece in your packet this month. This is a document that responds to several federal requirements. First of all, we are required to consider how the RTP will protect and enhance the environment, how the RTP will improve resiliency and reliability and reduce or mitigate stormwater impacts. We are required to discuss potential environmental mitigation activities to address potential impacts. And we're also required to consult with state and local agencies as part of this process. So what we did was we mapped the RTP projects that have geographic information. So obviously not all of the projects are geographically specific, either because they're, programs that are MPO area wide, or some of them, like some of the transit projects, don't have geographic information yet. So we were able to map 209 of the 225 total projects on the list. And then we intersected those projects with natural and cultural features, including tribal resources, cultural resources, air quality, heat exposure, water resources, wildlife habitat, and natural hazards. And these are all topics and background information that we presented as part of the RTP existing conditions report earlier on in this project, earlier this year. So essentially, we're now taking the step of identifying projects in each category that are within 100 feet of the mapped resources. This is a way for us to kind of flag at a high level where there might be potential impacts, and then identify potential mitigation measures for those impacts. So we were going to present every single map that's in there. There's a lot of information in that analysis. This was just, we wanted to kind of show you one by way of example. First of all, they're pretty maps. Second of all, just so you can kind of get a sense for the information that's in there, and then refer to it at your convenience. So like I said, this is really a planning level exercise. What we've done here is mapped each resource with the projects to look at where those potential impacts may be. And so you can see in pink, these are the projects, those 209 mapped projects, and then the various resources associated that are, fall under the water resources category. And then we identify, how many of each of these projects are potentially intersecting, and then suggest some mitigation measures for those projects that do intersect. This is a way for us to highlight for our jurisdictional partners these potential impacts and just let them know, what to be looking for when you go to begin designing a project. Okay, so moving on to the financial plan. Federal law requires the RTP to include a financial plan that demonstrates how the adopted transportation plan can be implemented. The financial plan is a report of anticipated expenditures and revenue sources necessary to carry out the system operation, maintenance, and preservation, as well as the capital projects, plans, and programmatic investments over the RTP planning period. So the RTP financial plan considers reasonably expected revenues and the cost of RTP projects and investments through 2049. Anticipated expenditures are planning level estimates, and revenue forecasts are based on past trends and assumptions about future revenues. So it's important to note that both are fairly unpredictable at this point. There are a lot of factors creating a high level of uncertainty with long-range financial planning right now. There's the shift in federal direction, the ODOT funding crisis, gap between the RTP and the local transportation system plans, which will be updated in the next few years. And then Lynn Transit District is also undergoing planning and budgeting update efforts, like their 10-year capital investment plan, their long-range financial plan, and their long-range mobility plan, which will also be incorporated into the next RTP. So let's see. Essentially the plan goes through the revenue sources. You have some examples on screen, the federal, state, and local revenue sources. And then it also compares those to the cost of the investments in the plan. So what we're seeing here is that the total operations management and preservation costs plus the RTP projects, essentially the cost of the 20-year plan is around 6.5 billion, just shy of 6.5 billion. Revenue is anticipated to be around 5.9 billion. So that's a $545 million deficit that we're looking at. Again, there's a lot of uncertainty in these numbers for the reasons that I've mentioned. And the plan goes into some of the ways to address potential funding shortfalls, like increasing federal and state taxes and fees, accepting lower level of service, special road funding opportunities, stormwater management. Essentially it lists a bunch of potential ways to address this and kind of goes into details about each one. Okay. So I'm sorry, and I should have paused after the environmental analysis. If there are any questions, please do obviously interrupt me to let me know, or else we can have time at the end for discussion.
Questions from the MPC, and I can't see the screen very well, so you may have to speak up. Rachel, I do have a question of the $45 million deficit or the gap. Do we have any hope of getting any of that funded with the transportation bill that was just passed by the legislature?
I might like to call on Paul if he has a good sense for that. He's pretty plugged in.
Chair, I would say that honestly, I don't believe that this 24-year forecast is affected by the bill that was just passed. And of course, that's pending the initiative process that may undo those state increases.
Right.
So at this point, I would say that that's a pretty solid estimate in the scheme of things as far as our 24-year crystal ball goes, of a $500 million shortfall. The good news, if you can call it that, is that that's a smaller shortfall than we've had in previous RTPs. We are tending to find a little bit more focus on the projects and the needs that are listed in the RTP, and the revenue forecast hasn't really gotten any worse.
Thank you.
Okay, so just wanted to touch briefly on the chapters that you have in your packet. We have 6 of the 7 chapters that are available now for your review. Obviously, understand it's a ton of content, but the chapters do draw from all of the tech memos that we have presented to MPC throughout this update process, so it shouldn't be any new information for you. You've now heard each of the RTP's components, and we're just a note that we are in the process of transitioning these chapters to a new template. So when we return to you in November, the full document will be in the new template. It's much more fun and colorful. We're really excited about it. The content will be virtually the same, obviously, with whatever tweaks need to be made based on feedback in the meantime, but it will look a lot prettier. Also, just wanted to note that we did not include the appendices in today's packet, but they will be in November's meeting packet. There are a ton of appendices, but again, this is essentially a collection of what we've already presented over the past several months, and they're here as technical documentation of the process, or they will be included. So finally, we have just a few next steps to discuss. The Transportation Planning Committee meets October 16th. We will be providing all of the draft materials, the RTP, the full RTP, and the appendices. They will open the public comment period, or I think they'll make a motion to open the public comment period, and that will actually open. The 30-day public comment period opens, I believe, when the MPC packet is published. And so that should be around October 24th. Then at your upcoming November meeting, you'll host the public hearing, and then it'll be time for adoption in December. So that is, thank you. That's the end of the presentation. Obviously here for any additional questions.
Thank you, Rachel, for jumping in and presenting this. It's much appreciated. To the MPC, do we have any questions or comments? Quiet group today. I'm seeing none. Oh, Mayor Van Gordon. I look specifically at your square because I figured you'd have something to say.
No, I just wanted to say that all this material looks good. I don't have any other questions. I'm pretty comfortable with it. So thank you for putting together the work.
Thank you, Mayor. Paul? You're muted.
Thank you. I was looking at my other screen. Didn't notice I was muted. I want to follow up a little bit more on the question you asked a moment ago, and I will, in the next couple of weeks, take a closer look at the Oregon Transportation Bill, see if we think there's any adjustment to the revenue forecast. The reason I don't think it has, just a little more context, the reason I don't think it has much impact on the long-range forecast is two-part. Number one, we are beholden as the MPO to try and adhere to a statewide working group that has all 8 MPOs and ODOT that produces statewide revenue forecasts for the long term. And right now that group obviously hasn't had a chance to look at the impact of the new bill. So I don't want to get our MPO too far ahead of that process. That would be reflected more in the next RTP. The second reason is, to be honest, the bulk of the shortfall, that $500 million shortfall, tends to be in the O&P category, and a lot of that is on lane transit districts, forecasts of their revenue and needs, and the state transportation bill will have even less of an impact relative to the numbers for LTD than it would for the other local agencies, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. Thank you. And I realize the question I was asking, nobody has a crystal ball here in front of us, other than I think we can safely say revenue is going to continue to be a problem. And trying to align our delivery systems to match the revenue we receive is going to continue to be a challenge for this body as well as our individual jurisdictions. But it is what we have to work with, and we need to figure out the best way to keep moving forward. Thank you. Well, that concludes 6A. We're now on to 6B, which is System Performance Report, Federal Performance Measures, and this has to do with an RTP update. Rachel, are you going to be our speaker on this one, or she's shaking her head no? Paul, do we know if Kelly is in a position to speak?
We have Kelly on the phone, so let's see if we can hear her.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can.
And,
okay. I am so sorry for the technical issues on my end.
Hey, I've been battling my virtual meetings the last few days, so you have my sympathy.
So Kelly, take it away.
We didn't have you-
Josh has shared the slideshow.
Okay. Thank you. And I'll ask my co-presenter here, Chi, to introduce herself before I get started.
Good morning, afternoon, everyone. My name is Chi Mai, and I'm with ODOT. I'm a transportation system analysis engineer. And within my group, we deal with data analysis and performance reporting. And I've been helping MPOs with the calculations for mobility congestion system type of analysis, and especially for the fast reporting. So Kelly and I have worked together closely for the last few years on this required submittal to FHWA. Back to you, Kelly.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And I'll go through our report here, and then we'll ask Chi to help with any more technical issues or questions that may come up. I am watching on the Metro Live, so I can see the PowerPoint as it's coming through. So Josh, if you could forward to the next slide here, actually 2 more. So this report is part of our overall RTP's system performance report, which is part of our required performance-based planning and programming framework. And we presented the system performance report at the September MPC meeting, but we focused on our regional transportation measures and kind of glossed over the federal measures. But MPC asked us to return with a focus on the federal measures. So that's what we're here for today. And so we'll focus the rest of this presentation on those federal measures. So I'm going to go over with an overview of kind of where these came from and roles and responsibilities with them, and then we'll get into the measures themselves. So with the federal transportation performance measures, the U.S. DOT established the measures through law. Josh, if you could change the slide. They identified data sources for each of the measures, and they defined metrics for how the methodology to develop to report on them. And they're responsible for reporting to Congress, and the U.S. DOT is also responsible for the stewardship and oversight of these measures. As state DOTs and MPOs, our role and rules are to follow through with interagency coordination, like Chi just mentioned. We're supposed to establish targets. They're intended to support the national goals and consider, then we need to consider the measures and targets in our long-range plans, which is how we're integrating them into the RTP, and that's the connection there. And then it's our job, the rules, our responsibility to report to the U.S. DOT. So at a high level, there's kind of 5 categories of transportation performance measures. There's the federal highway measures of bridge condition, pavement condition, system performance, and safety, and then federal transit measures of asset management and safety. And I'm going to stay on the process side for a few more slides before presenting the actual measures, but wanted to show you those as kind of a highlight. Josh, if you could change the slide. So our options when these were first developed, we had options about how to follow up as an MPO with these federal performance measures. We could either agree to plan and program projects that contribute towards the accomplishment of the state DOT's targets, or develop our own targets for our own planning area. But then we would be responsible for all of the analysis and coordination and reporting to the federal government with that. MPC directed us to contribute to the state targets, and this has several benefits. It's an opportunity to coordinate with ODOT. ODOT leads the analysis and coordinates closely with all of the state's MPOs through target setting, and then ODOT is reported to the US DOT on our behalf. So next slide, please. A little bit about how we go about with the target setting process. We work as an MPO, work with ODOT to assess like what are the baseline current practices, where is the data, and what are the analytical tools we have to to do the methodology. We evaluate possible targets, looking at performance trends, internal and external factors, and then what are we planning for? What are our future projections? And then work towards recommending targets. There's requirements for 2- and 4-year numerical targets. Then we go through a leadership and stakeholder review process, refinement, and then our policy board motion, which MPC has given motions on federal performance measures over the past 6 years now is when this all started. And then we document, like, what were the steps, what are the decisions, the process, and evaluation. The next slide, please. So an overall look at the schedule. The first reporting cycle began January 1, 2028 and lasted through December 31, 2021. We had 2- and 4-year reporting responsibilities within that. And that now we're in the second cycle of reporting, which lasts through the end of this calendar year. As part of that, ODOT declared new updated targets and on our behalf submitted the mid-performance report in October of this year, or I'm sorry, of last year. October of next year, the full performance report ends, and we'll have an opportunity to relook at targets and start the whole process again. So we'll be coordinating closely over the next year to get to that point. So now we can get into the actual measures. If you could change the slide, please. So the first measure that I'll go over is the pavement condition. So on this slide, you'll see all of the performance measures within this category. You'll see there's overall with these measures, there's some inconsistency in the requirements on how we report for each measure, but the pavement condition has 4 measures. It's the percentage of pavement of the interstate system in good condition, percent of pavement of the interstate system in poor condition, percent of pavement of the non-interstate national highway system in good condition, and percent of pavement of the non-interstate national highway system in poor condition. So we worked with ODOT in 2022 to establish the baseline performance, which you can see on the left column, 2022 baseline performance, the 2-year target and a 4-year target. That middle column that's highlighted in green is kind of where we are today as of 2024 when we reported on this, and we're doing okay. The text in green indicates that we're within our target. That means that we're where we wanted to be as a state. Again, these are state targets. Next slide, please. Bridge condition is set up very much the same way. There's 2 measures within bridge condition. It's the percentage of the national highway system bridges classified in good condition, and then percent of national highway system bridges classified in poor condition. And for one, we're doing okay, the good condition. The poor condition, we're a little bit behind. And I know the state's working on ways to mitigate that. And next slide, please. This slide shows the system performance measures. And there are 6 of these. The percentage of person miles traveled on the interstate that are reliable, percentage of person miles traveled on the non-interstate national highway system that are reliable, truck time reliability index, annual hours of peak hour excessive delay per capita, percentage of non-SOV travel, single occupancy vehicle travel, and then total emission reductions of PM10. And again, this is a relatively good report. We're doing okay in all of these except for the last one. And that had to do, my understanding, with some of the projects that had been delayed or canceled. And so we didn't show as much of a delta between reducing emissions. And next slide, please, gets us to the safety measures. Safety highway measures are set up a little bit different. Safety targets and data are informed by a 5-year rolling average of Oregon crash data, and they're updated annually. The targets and data are presented in the state's annual report of the Oregon Highway Safety Program. And this report has set aspirational yet feasible targets for its performance measures, using a calculated approach to reaching zero within a 20-year timeline. This can sometimes mean that performance targets are aggressive, and they're encouraging communities to work with conviction on achieving desired results. ODOT is in the position of offering ongoing education, technical assistance, and other resources to help achieve these goals. But unfortunately, statewide, we're trending in the wrong direction. So there's a lot of effort to help understand why and move us in the right direction. But this is a kind of value of doing this reporting so that we can see where we are and do course corrections in the interim. And the next slide, please. There's two transit-related measures. The first is transit asset management, and we coordinate, the MPO coordinates with Lane Transit District on these, as Lane Transit District is the one responsible for reporting here. And actually, Lane Transit District participates in the group transit asset management plan with ODOT. And so they report to ODOT, ODOT reports to the feds. And ODOT will actually be posting their new targets as part of the National Transit Database reporting process in October of this year. And then our last slide with the measures is a report on the federal transit measures for safety. And this is another measure that the MPO coordinates closely with LTD on. LTD establishes targets and reports them in their Public Safety Action Plan, which was just updated and adopted in March of 2025. And then one kind of wrap up here as far as next steps, as you saw earlier, by October 1st of 2026, we need to submit the next 4-year full performance reporting period report. That's an opportunity to look at new targets if we want to reestablish new targets or keep the same ones as is. And then it's another opportunity for us to continue coordinating with ODOT and the other of the state's MPOs. So Chi and I and others will get to work together much more into the next year. And that's all we have for this agenda item, but happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Kelly. Are there questions or comments from the MPC? Commissioner Lovell.
Thank you, Chair. I just was noticing, Kelly, when you went by those, one of those things that caught my eye was the assaults on LTD bus drivers was at 45. Is that something we're seeing an uptick in trend, or what are we doing to mitigate some of that?
Yeah, I don't know if we have anyone from LTD who could answer that, or I could look into that more and find an answer for you if we don't.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of popped out. I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, that to me is a tough statistic to swallow haphazardly. So, yeah.
Board Member Knox.
Yeah, I can only partially answer that question. I know that that overall assaults are down, but I don't know if that includes both riders and operators in that statistic. But overall, in the last year, our trend for all sorts of crimes are actually declining, which is a good thing.
Yeah,
I can't answer that on the drivers themselves. We don't get that breakdown in our packets. So
I can add that there has been training specific to that for operators and just in general employees at LTD, really heightening up their awareness of it as an issue.
Yep.
Well, thank you both for that input. That's welcome news that it's going down. Good job.
Kelly, this is Randy Groves. I have a question regarding the statistics and data you presented on fatalities and serious injuries. What are you pulling that? What is the source you're pulling from for that? Or
for
sources?
the highway, yeah, for the highway measures, they're the Oregon crash data.
Okay.
So
And do you
statewide.
know how that's fed? Is that from responder incident reports, or how do they pull that?
I can answer
Yeah,
that,
that's my
Kelly.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, so basically, it's the required, it's the official crash report. So reports come
okay.
from DMV and also police officer who respond and write up the actual accident report. So those are the most official sources that we have, and that goes into our database.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is I'm a former firefighter, and I've been on injury accidents where there were no police, there were no ODOT workers, and I'm wondering if that's maybe another source you're missing from the MFERS reports.
So by law, if there's an amount that people are required to report, I believe it's either 1,500 or 2,500,
That's a low threshold.
And they're supposed to. You will see cases of people, I think, bypassing that, but we have no control over that. But this is the most official that all of our crash analysis and reporting goes through the database that we're using, the same one for this.
Thank you. Are there questions from the MPC? Any more questions? I'm seeing no hands. With that, thank you very much for the presentation, and thank you for the additional information. Okay, we are moving on to, boy, we're flying through this today. We're moving on to item 6D, other MPO information. ODOT, do we have an update?
Can everybody hear me okay?
Good afternoon, Vidal. Yes.
All right. Well, happy Thursday, everyone. Happy to be here. I don't have a whole lot. I mean, most of the news, to be honest with you, you probably know more than I do as far as what's been going on. Again, everyone's aware that the passage of the latest, let's just say ODOT budget, if you will, has passed through this past Monday, if I'm understanding correctly. And so I was in a meeting earlier, let's say Tuesday, with the director and a couple of his subordinates, kind of talking about, the passage of the bill and so forth. And there is a sense of relief, if I can say this correctly, a sense of relief and a sense of Thanksgiving, to be honest with you. The director did say to us, look, let's take a moment, take a pause, and just be thankful for where we at. Because again, the train was going in a motion to where we were going to do some significant layoffs and so forth, but all of that has kind of come to a halt, at least for now. Consequently, all of the layoff notices have been rescinded. And right now, next steps that the agency is kind of going through is to start to fill the backlog of vacancies that we have on the books right now, the total of about 750, 760 vacancies statewide. And again, we can't fill them all in one swoop. Obviously, we've got to take a measured pace where we're trying to be more strategic and be more effective in which vacancies we actually fill. But the greater push is to actually get our operations teams whole. And that would mean that most of the vacancies that deal with maintenance operations and so forth are the ones that we're mainly targeting first to get that through. I think if you go online right now, you'll see probably a list of about maybe 50 vacancies, and probably in the next coming weeks and days and some more would come on there. And then those older ones would be kind of phasing out as they get filled and so forth. But again, we feel a bit relieved, but we do recognize that, again, it was painstaking, if I can say this. And if I can also add, at least from my own observation, I do think that everyone on both sides of the aisle really wanted to do something for ODOT, if you will, to make the situation better. But I do recognize that the challenge was, how do you get it funded? How do you get it paid for? Again, that wasn't in the hands of ODOTs. That was in the hands of our legislatures to make that decision. Consequently, it fell the way it did. I do see Mayor Van Gordon's hands up, and I'm happy to take the the question, if I can answer it. I know you're right down the street, but it's if I can answer.
I'll just walk down to your office and ask you. No, I'm glad to hear the news. I just the comment after the discussion, you know, the starts and stops with transportation bill, and I think it's a message that I've heard too, is just the importance of execution. And, you know, as those people come online, is, you know, any way we can help is cities to point out where net new things are happening so that people can understand that when we put dollars in transportation, people see it from an execution perspective. I'm more than willing to help with that. But that really is the next phase, is connect the money people are paying to actual stuff that they can see improve their neighborhoods and the transportation system, you know, that they could see every day.
Right. I agree with you on that. And I'm going to go a little bit further too. And I do believe that we on our end need to do, let's just say, a greater effort on being not only more transparent, but also showing folks the value of the dollars that they're actually putting into our system. Show that it's being used correctly. You know, the accountability is there. And everything that we can do within our powers to show that, again, their monies that's being used on our system is being effective to the greatest extent. And thank you for that, Mayor Van Gordon. And the reason why I don't have a whole lot of other news is because, again, because of the passage of this bill, the last OTC meeting was canceled, pushed back for October, and quite a few other things were really on hold until something would happen in the legislature, and that has happened. I will say that at our next Lane Act meeting, we do have a 20, maybe 25-minute discussion on the a legislative update. We do have someone coming in from our government affairs office to give us at least a rundown on all of the bills that all of the, let's just say, the legislation around what passed in the recent passage, as well as what also passed earlier in the previous session. So again, that'd be a good topic of discussion for those that want to hear what's really being impacted as far as transportation is concerned on the legislative level. That'd be a good place to hear that. And again, thank you all for all the support again. But again, we're ramping up as best we can right now. Winter is around the corner. Summer is just about wrapped up, and we're just trying to see if we can get our 2 feet on the ground and get things moving such that we can make everyone happy. And that's all I have for you, Chair Groves.
Thank you, Vidal. Actually, I have a question as well. And first of all, I just want to say I've had an opportunity to drive in other states over the past year, quite a few actually, and I think we have one of the best maintained road highway networks in any state I've seen. All the way from Baltimore, where I felt like I needed a tracked vehicle just to get through town, and on some of the state roadways to we're on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, and that's appreciated very much. I think it helps with mileage in our vehicles, and it definitely helps with the wear and tear that vehicles are submitted to with rough roads. And I see Pete Knox nodding yes, who has a large fleet of buses that they need to be worried about. A question I do have, though, regarding the recent action by the legislature, if there were to be a successful referral petition passed and this gets referred to the voters, and if the voters were to vote this down, is ODOT making contingency planning? Because it seems like we're going to be spending money when that potential is kind of hanging out there. And I'm not suggesting we do otherwise, but I'm just worried about the whole.
Very good question. Awesome question, to be honest with you. And the meeting that I was in, that question actually did come up, and there is some conversations around, okay, what contingency effort we could put in place such that if this were to go in another direction, let's say a few months from here, how are we going to respond or adjust to that? And again, essentially, that would literally put us back almost in the same situation, if you will. And again, there's not a one solution, or there's not, the agency I know for right now don't have an exact answer for that. We could only really take what's been given to us right now. So we do know that right now the law is in effect, or it would be in effect. Consequently, whatever funding or whatever dollars that would be garnered to be able to do what needs to be done based on the legislative enactment, those funding I would understand would still remain with the agency. But if things were to start to go sour, then we would have to start to think about, okay, should we stop collecting funds? Should we put a pause on the funds that are collected? Again, those answers, I don't have an answer for that, but those are things that we are trying to think about. At the same time, again, we're under the gun with trying to revamp our staffing up to the levels where it should be to be able to provide the services that the state deserves. So again, Chair Groves, I mean, awesome questions. That question was popped around, and I don't have a great answer for you on that one. That's a tough one. It's a
Just
tough
want to make sure somebody has their hand on the throttle here, so we
yeah.
don't
And
lose altitude.
the only thing I can say to that is there would probably more than likely be another huge push to get our legislators to revisit, relook at what we're doing and figure out another way we can find a good compromise to make everyone happy.
Well, I appreciate that, and thank you for that information. And I hope you'll keep us apprised of any developments that come along that can be released, just so that we can do a better job of planning here locally or regionally. So thank you for that. And I also say I hope that if something were to be reversed, that ODOT receives help from further than just ODOT's budget to get back up to a level sustainable expenditure rate.
True.
Thank you. Paul?
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to just add a little bit to your question. Yes, it's a very good question. Of course, keep in mind that 50% of the revenue increases just passed by the legislature go to ODOT. The other 50% go to the cities and counties. So all of you need to be not hunting your chickens before they're hatched. The increases, the tax and other increases will take effect January 1st of 2026. If this referral to the ballot makes it to the ballot, that election would not take place until the November 2026 election, right. 11 months later. And under current legal precedent in Oregon, if the voters reject the increases, the revenue collected so far has to be refunded to the taxpayers. So it would be taken back from all of our jurisdictions in a sense.
Yeah. Wow, that would be a nightmare.
That's a tough.
Each individual motorist would have to be refunded on the gas tax. Is that correct?
I'm not sure how the process would work because the legal precedent is based on a 2003 case, which was a corporate tax increase. And obviously it's a little bit easier to refund money to corporations as opposed to individuals at the pump. But that is the legal precedent that any taxes and fees rejected by a future referral are refunded to taxpayers.
Yeah. All right. I guess we'll watch this closely and see where it goes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're on to 6D, number 2, TIP project changes. This is an information only item. Paul, do you have something for us?
Not unless you have questions, members.
Questions from the MPC? I am seeing none. Next steps, agenda build. Paul, do you have anything specific on that, or is that just kind of a placeholder item?
It's a placeholder, and really, the comment I'd like to make here, Chair, is both with respect to the agenda and the meeting place for November 6th, our next meeting. You'll notice on the agenda that it is scheduled as a hybrid, hopefully mostly in-person meeting, which some of you have been asking for, to be held on November 6th. We tentatively are planning on the Eugene Library Bascom Tykeson room, but speaking of technical difficulties, we have been working with the Metro TV folks and the Eugene Library staff and recognize that there hasn't been a hybrid meeting or a televised meeting in that room since the pandemic. And Metro TV and staff are raising some questions about whether it can really support the type of hybrid meeting that we're now used to having. So we might be moving to a different location. More to come on that. We'll still do our best to hold an in-person with, of course, a hybrid component. That November 6th meeting will be the formal rollout of the full RTP. So for better or worse, expect another 400-page packet because we typically need to we typically feel that we need to publish everything when we're holding a public hearing, and there will be a public hearing on the material.
Great. Thank you, Paul. And regarding the upcoming meetings, I certainly intend to attend in person myself. I'm looking forward to that opportunity, and I would encourage my colleagues to attend in person if you can. If not, there is the hybrid or the virtual option as well. So we'll try and have this set up so we can accommodate as many of the members as we can for their individual needs. With that, is there anything else to come before the MPC? Seeing none, thank you very much for you all being here. Thank you to the presenters, and we are adjourned.